walked around without being shady. Who knows her values? Who's gone through trials? Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you feel me? That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist. Ladies, can you hear me?
What's up, what's up, what's up? It is your girl Tasha, known to the world as LaTasha Carpenter, but everybody calls me your girl Tasha because when you hang with me, it is like you are hanging with your girl. And guys, today in the studio, we got the comeback coach, Mr. Edwin McClure in the studio, and he's dedicated to helping those of you out there, or hell, even me, those of us that are experiencing setbacks so that we can embrace them because God always has a comeback for us.
Always.
Welcome to the studio, Edwin.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Too. I'm hyped. I'm really over the moon to be here. So excited to speak to you and speak to your viewers and hopefully tell them about my comeback.
Exactly. And you know what? I think that it's very important in order for them to totally appreciate what it is that you say you do, because a lot of people get their coach titles, okay? Right. Coach this and coach that, and I'm the health coach and I'm the Bible coach and all this other kind of coach, and they don't have any kind of firsthand experience with it. So in order for our audience to totally appreciate what you have to offer, I think it's only fair that you share with them the setbacks that you've had and the obstacles that you had to overcome that give you the experience to help other people overcome and find their great comeback.
Okay, absolutely. I've definitely had more setbacks than I would care to recall. I'd start first with me being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis my senior year of high school. This was back in 2002. Definitely feel like an old guy, but my senior year of high school, I had just been accepted by my top choice for college, which was Hampton University. So let's say I got accepted to Hampton on a Monday. By Friday is when I got the diagnosis that I had multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
That set for me really a chain of events, which kicked off me, number one, having to get a steroid treatment just to regulate major attacks from the disease, really 4 times a year, every time the seasons would change. My regular day-to-day treatment was having to give myself an injection of one of the interferon medications. And that initially started out for about 2 years, every other day giving myself a shot. But as the disease became more and more active, I ended up bouncing around between medications, but after about 4 years, I was on a medication where I had to give myself a shot every single day. So the disease never stopped coming for me. It never stopped trying to attack my body. But for that initial setback, I ended up having a comeback dealing with the disease where, diagnosed in 2002, in 2006, I was blessed to participate in the first round of a stem cell trial treatment that was going on at Northwestern University. And I'm thankful to say that the stem cell was successful. And for 10 years, I went without any MS. I didn't have any more symptoms, but even broader than that, with my MS scans, the doctors weren't seeing any other traces or signs of the disease.
Wow.
So I went from, in 2002, I went from, never thinking I'd find a family, never thinking I'd find a woman that would want to put up with the disease, thinking that I'd never be able to have children. I went from that to living a very active life, finding a wife, having 2 beautiful miracle children, and really having a very normal life. And then setback reared its ugly head again. In 2017, I was re-diagnosed with the disease. The doctor said that the MS had come back.
Wow. So there's some people out here that are not really familiar with multiple sclerosis. I mean, you're in high school. What kind of symptoms were you having? What should people look for when it comes to that?
That's a wonderful question.
Did you actually know?
I had no idea. multiple sclerosis. It's a very, very sneaky, tricky disease, and I'll speak more about that. Hopefully, at some point in the interview. For me, like I said, a senior in high school, and what ended up happening is my vision decreased. It was kind of like somebody turned a dimmer switch. Excuse me, like they turned it down 30 degrees. And so it just everything that I was looking at just really got dark. And so that set me on a chain where I went to I think about two or three different regular eye doctors, just ophthalmologists, and none of the eye doctors could tell what was going on. And so then they recommended that I go see an ophthalmologist, and the ophthalmologist then recommended that I go see a neurologist. I think the ophthalmologist kind of had an idea of what could be going on. So went and saw the neurologist, and at that point, the neurologist told me, took a look at my scans and could see the lesions on my brain. And I'm just thankful that probably 3 years prior, playing football, I had to get an MRI done just because of the way I hit somebody, which was the wrong way. Whole nother story.
Okay.
I had to get an MRI.
Another comeback.
It definitely was, but I'm not in the NFL. Like I said, a long another story. But because I had to get that previous MRI done a few years prior, they thankfully had the MRI scan to compare from 4 years prior to that more recent scan, and they could see, unlike what they saw in the first scan, they could see where I had lesions on my brain. And that's what multiple sclerosis is. It's for multiple scarring on your brain or on your spinal column. And the way that it works is it's your immune system attacking your own body. When you get sick, when you get a cold or anything like that, your immune system kicks in and creates antibodies to attack whatever the illness is. With MS, your body loses the ability to say this is good and this is bad, and it says your brain or your spine is bad, and whatever parts of your brain or of your spine that are attacked, that's where the MS actually manifests itself. And so, picking back up, going to the neurologist, they saw the scarring, and at that point, that's when they gave me the diagnosis of MS. And that really blew my mind because at that point, I'm a 17-year-old black kid. All of the pamphlets that we picked up from the neurologist's office said this is a disease for 4-year-old white women. And so it really, really shocked everybody in my circle that, here I am, a black kid that played football that ends up with this disease. Right. But this is the last thing I'll say on that is we ended up finding out throughout the years of going to various neurologists and going to NIH, what they are actually beginning to determine is that it was 40-year-old white women who more so went the whole route of going to those doctor's appointments and going to a neurologist appointment and actually being diagnosed with the disease.
Okay.
Black people do get MS. We just weren't finding it out. We weren't going all the way up the medical chain to the neurologist's office and being able to find out this is what's going on. This is why you're sluggish or your feet feel heavy. We just didn't know.
So it's more common than a lot of people actually think within our community.
It absolutely is. Wow.
Yeah. I was smiling a few minutes ago because we have some people tuning in, and I thank each and every one of you guys who are sharing and inviting. Everybody remember to share and invite. We got a warm welcome from Mr. Jimmy Adams. He says, "Hey, my girl Tasha, and to your guest, you got a new name. He called you Coach Mac instead of Coach Ed. I guess he's taking the McClure and turning it into Coach Mac.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
And he's shooting in from Arlington, Virginia, is in the house. So thank you, Jimmy, and thank you, Cheryl.
Two down.
Thank all of you guys. Remember to share and invite. And if any of you guys know anyone that has any kind of, as we know, as Coach Ed has just shared, he battled multiple sclerosis. If you know anybody that has, that's hard to say, multiple sclerosis, okay?
Just say MS.
I gotta roll the tongue. MS, okay? If you know anyone that's battling any kind of type of the disease, this is the time. If you have a loved one that's out there struggling right now, that's going through something that you care about, if it's yourself and you're going through it, get your loved ones on. If you know a loved one, get your loved ones on. This broadcast is totally for you guys, okay? So I can imagine that if you're a young athlete, and you're thinking, because now 2020 hindsight, right? We know
Oh my
differently
gosh.
that in this
Yes.
community that it is prevalent. It's
Right.
not just a 40-year-old white woman disease.
Right.
But at that time, not having that information,
Mm-hmm.
did you go through any bouts of like anger or questioning?
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
absolutely. Um, the month, I would say, after I was diagnosed initially, um, immediately I was put on steroids to pull back the aggressiveness of the disease. And during that week that I was on the steroids, and as I remember it as vividly as it was, 5 minutes ago, I was literally in my parents' basement, um, down in my room in the basement, and I turned to the scriptures to really help me try to figure out what in the world is going on. And I dove into Psalms, um, David's Psalms that he wrote while he was on the run from King Saul.
Uh-huh.
And excuse me, for me, I found so much solace, just reading David's never-ending faith in God and knowing that God, in the midst of David sleeping in caves, and having to move caves every night because the king and all of his secret service, all of his soldiers were chasing him and avidly looking for him. David never lost sight that God's got my back. So this sucks right now, but I'm gonna be okay. That gave me a little bit of peace. But again, 17 years old, my eyes are set on Hampton, and this just messed up what my plans were completely.
Your future is flashing before
Oh my
you.
gosh! I mean, absolutely, my future is disappearing before me. And so, with my hindsight being 2020, I would definitely say that I was definitely depressed. And so, what I actually turned to doing is I wrote God letters, and I have no idea where I got the idea to do that, but I wrote how I felt. I wrote that out. And I'll never forget, there was one time when I was doing that, and my mother actually walked in on me writing the letter to God. And she saw it, and she just broke down crying, and I broke down crying as
You
well.
got me tearing up a little bit.
I'm trying to do it for Fort Watch now,
imagine.
so I can't start crying. I'm like, man, I'm trying to be tough for Tantalia. It was hard. It
I can
really was
imagine.
hard. I mean, just everything that I had planned for myself, just all I could see in that moment was that it was gone. But still, and this is where I'm thankful to the good Lord above. I'm glad that I knew to look to the scriptures. And even though I didn't know what was going on, I knew that I knew God. And I knew that he would get me through. I didn't know how much it was going to hurt going through the process. I didn't know anything, but I knew the Lord. And that's where I got my strength from.
So, and getting that show, your mom walking in on you writing these letters and stuff, while you were trying to, although you had that peace of mind, how did you treat your family at that time? Did you allow them? I mean, okay. So my mom, 2007, passed away from breast cancer.
I'm sorry.
And she, when it came near the end, when it started spreading everywhere, she didn't want my help. So it was kind of difficult, the things that she said. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw her, she like pulled away from me, and I was like, you know what? I'm not coming to this hospice place no more. And unfortunately, I didn't get to get back there because my father-in-law at that time passed away the same night.
Wow.
And by the time we buried him, my mom had passed.
Wow.
So how did you interact with your family and their desire to try to help and support you?
So first, I'm sorry for your losses.
Thank you.
I know that is hard. And to answer your question, and I laugh because I know you're going to ask me this question later, so I'll speak to this piece more in detail once you actually ask me.
You can speak to anything, because your girl Tasha, I could improvise.
Okay, all right.
So if it's
all
part of
right.
the answer, just give it.
So, skipping to that answer, this is part of why I started my great comeback. God is something else, as you well know. to go from having the disease to then being saved from the disease and having so many years removed from it, it wasn't until I was done with the disease and somebody was asking me about it that in speaking to them, giving them an answer about the whole situation, that it actually clicked. I'm speaking about this disease in the past tense. And as that light bulb went off, more in line with the question that they asked me, I realized, wow, I didn't even understand when I was dealing with the disease how I treated my family. My parents were right there, right beside me the whole time. When I was getting the stem cell transplant in Chicago, my brothers and my cousin, I still don't know how they did it, but they came to Chicago to visit me in the hospital. When I was dealing with the disease at Hampton, my younger brothers, they actually ended up going to Hampton the same time. And there were times when my vision was too bad for me to even drive. My younger brother would drive me to campus and take me to class. But when I was dealing with the disease, I didn't understand. Well, the better way to put it is my tunnel focus was just so much on how bad everything was for me that I didn't even realize all of these people had my back and were looking out for me. And it wasn't until God blessed me to be outside of the disease and was able to use that 20/20 vision and look back and think, there was nobody but me and my family. They were the only ones who really did watch out for me and make sure I was good. And that is the other half of me starting my great comeback, which is I'm focused on speaking to the people dealing with the disease, but I need to speak to the family members as well.
Yes.
Because the family members, it's tough because when you're dealing with, I'll speak to MS because that's what I have and had and all of that. Nobody understands you except other people who are dealing with the disease. Nobody else understands what it feels like to drag your feet with every step you're trying to take. Nobody else understands the feeling when you stand up of the whole room moving, unless maybe they drank too much the night before. There's certain things that people don't get unless they've had to deal with the disease. I understand it dealing with the disease. On the other side of the coin, we who are dealing with diseases like this, we truly don't understand the perspective of our family members, because what I learned is that they love us, period. There's no question to that. If they could take the illness away and carry it themselves, they would do that in a heartbeat, but they can't. They're constantly asking us if we're okay because they really want to make sure that we are doing okay. We tell them we're fine, we don't need anything, and then our family members give us this look, and it's not that they are pitying us, it's that they love us and they wish we weren't in that situation.
And we know you got on that mask, and we know that you're trying to be strong, and we wish that we could, if you're a mother, you want to wish that you could take that your child shouldn't be going through this. God, just allow me to go through this, or whatever it may be. All that is going through the family member's head.
But as the patient, as the person who's sick, we see that look on our mother's face. We see that look on our brother's face, and it's just like, I don't want to be around you because I see the love you have for me. I see that you would do everything you could, but you can't. And I'm not angry at you. I'm frustrated because I don't want you to feel that way. But I can't do anything. And it's just, again, I'll speak to what I know, which is MS. It is the most vicious disease. And I know every terminal disease does this to you. And it makes you feel alone. It makes you separate yourself from the people who love you. It's just terrible. And Tasha, that's why I focused on creating this business. This is why I created the Warrior Community, because I want people to have a discussion board where they can talk about these feelings. They can discuss, this is what's going on with me. You have the disease as well. What are your thoughts? What are your perspectives? We need to talk. Words won't do anything, but it just gets that weight off of your chest. This is why I'm uploading the videos of my personal man journal. It's not a diary, it's a man journal. my personal journal.
A man journal.
Man journal.
Okay,
yes.
Man cave, man journal.
Hey man, we gotta fight. We gotta fight for manliness nowadays. Again, a whole nother conversation. But I want my viewers, I want the other warriors to see these are my thoughts. I told you before the cameras went live that I uploaded some more videos. One of the videos that I just uploaded before I headed here is talking about my perspective on being diagnosed with MS twice. I mean, what type of world is that where you get diagnosed with this horrible disease more than once? Mm-hmm. And I just got to be real. I mean, I'm smiling and all of that, but it hurts. It's disappointing.
Right. 10 years about it?
Goodness, yes.
After going through the studies, 10 years about it, just like, okay, I'm cured, thank you God, and all this stuff, and now, I mean, some people don't accept that sometimes God does things to us because it's just part of the process, and it's something to push us to another level. So some people look at it, I mean, God, I had it right for 10 years. What I do wrong? Why you give this back to me? You know?
Right.
It's the only thing that I could imagine with that. Now, you kind of threw that little warrior community in there. And, of course, on the screen, guys, we have mygreatcomeback.com, the website where you can reach Coach Ed. But tell them about how to get to the warrior community.
Okay, sure. So, again, as Tasha so eloquently put it, please make sure you visit my website, mygreatcomeback.com. And subscribe to the Warrior Community. On the Warrior Community, we have the discussion board there where we have various topics that people have put up and where they're discussing everything from their disease to, what's their favorite TV show? Just what are people watching? You still want to be normal, and have a normal conversation. We also have articles that are posted, so just various health articles, various, tips and hacks to help you deal with the disease, various things about eating right. And then the other section that I spoke to, which is my personal man journal. Why are you laughing? Man journal, where I post a video with my thoughts and my opinions just of what's going on in my world. So yeah, just something small where we get a place where we can talk, we can be honest, we can laugh, we can cry, we can uplift each other.
Okay, so other than having the warrior community, mm-hmm. What else are you doing with My Great Comeback? And before, you had a different name before.
Yes. So, before, I'm laughing because you need to have me back on here so we can talk about the hustle of trying to be an entrepreneur.
Oh!
Man, oh man.
Yeah, we can talk about that for real.
Oh my goodness. It is real. That laugh. Woo! So here's something that's really cool that happened. 3 years after my stem cell transplant, my transplant doctor was able to publish his findings. When he published his findings, he gave me a call and said, there might be some media that wants to reach out to my patients to see, how things are going post-transplant. Mm-hmm. So I'm 3 years into not having anything going on with the MS. So I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I had some random journalist give me a call, and that was fine. That was cool. I was in grad school at the time.
Okay.
But then Bloomberg called my phone, and then the Associated Press called my phone, and that's the same face that I made.
Bloomberg and the Associated Press.
Right. I was like, okay. Next thing I knew, CBS Early Show in New York called my phone and said, we'd like to send a crew down there to interview you for the CBS Early Show. And so I'm just like, sure, absolutely.
Why not?
So they came to my little apartment in grad school, interviewed me. They went back to New York, and then probably around 9 o'clock that night, they called and said, yeah, we showed our footage. The reporters called me and said they showed the footage to their editor-in-chief, and the editor wants to bring you to New York and interview you on the CBS Early Show. And there I was in New York, interviewing, really living the high life. I had a driver. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Oh.
So I felt fancy, but more importantly to what we're speaking about, is after that episode aired, I had so many people find me, and this was in the earlier days of Facebook, but I had so many people find me on Facebook and friend me and ask me questions dealing with the MS, other people who were dealing with the disease. And majority of the people wanted to know about the transplant, of course, but other people, geez, 95% of the people who reached out to me then, from then all the way till now, have all just wanted to hear something good. They just wanted to hear some good news. They just wanted to know there was some hope.
Right.
And this really long story, I realize I'm telling you.
Okay.
Based on that, that's what made me think of, first it was a blog, then I tried to do a little business about 4 years ago of your great comeback. But I knew that it was a purpose God gave me at the time. I just didn't know the best ways to get it out there, to even try to push it. And then I had a baby. And so all of that sleep deprivation and all of those elements made me just kind of pull back on your great comeback. And after I got re-diagnosed with the disease, speaking with my mentor at my church, Brother Derek Eagle Aswala, I pray I said that the right way. I was speaking with him, and I was telling him the same thing I just told you about the initial business. And he kind of cut me off and said, "Why are you running from it?" And I did not have a good answer. And so that was Sunday, and by the next Friday, I had my great comeback up, and worked very closely with my brother Byron, and got the page back up there. And I'm thankful that God didn't have to swallow me with a giant fish to make me do my purpose, but I know that this is what I'm supposed to do.
So was there a difference in thinking of your great comeback and my great for you? Am I hearing that it was more so your way of more so taking ownership of it?
I really love that. And I might steal that and put it on my website or something. I changed
I'll send you the bill later.
Please do. I changed it to my great comeback because just thinking about it, it's not a... I really wanted it to speak to the person. And so for me to tell people, and I'm trying not to say the old name now because I don't want to confuse people, but it really isn't about your great comeback. That's me speaking to you.
Right.
So it's not about your great comeback. For a person who starts working with me, who subscribes to the Warrior community, who signs on to the positivity and the hope that I pray that I'm providing, I'm doing it for you. So as you're reading this information, as you're engaging with the discussion boards, as you're being uplifted, I want you to subconsciously be internalizing that it is about your comeback. It's about my great comeback. This is about me.
Right.
This is about me becoming a better person.
All right. Well, guys, we have got to pay the sponsors right now. And we're going to go ahead and cut on over to that wonderful company, GrownLifeTees.com. But don't you go anywhere. If you haven't already shared and invite, this is your opportunity. And come back for the second half to hear more about the wonderful comeback coach. All right, you're back here with Hanging with your girl Tasha. I am LaTasha Carpenter, but you guys call me your girl Tasha, because when you hang with me, it's like you are hanging with your girl. And we're coming back. We got in the studio today again, the comeback coach, Mr. Ed McClure. And if you missed the beginning, you have got to go back and hit the replay. And as usual, we're asking you guys to share and invite. And if you have any questions, he shared his story about being cured from multiple sclerosis, MS. Because I'm not gonna do the tongue teaser thing, okay? From MS and through research, and then later on being re-diagnosed. So if you would like to call in too and ask any questions, make any comments, the phone number is right here in the middle of the screen: 301-429-9247. Okay, so this what if I decide that I want to get some of your services? Mm-hmm. Whether I be a person who is actually suffering from a disease, and this is not limited just to the MS. Mm-hmm. It could be the person that's battling cancer. Mm-hmm. I guess it could be the person that's battling diabetes, lupus, mm-hmm. Crohn's disease, any of those type, especially those immune type disease. What am I to expect when I come to you?
Well, we have I'm trying to think of the best word to use right there. I have more than a few different options for you. So if you wanted to just have a conversation with me, you can select, let me stop and let me try that one again. If you click on products, let me just slow myself all the way down. If you go to my page, mygreatcomeback.com, and you click on the products, you can actually see the bevy of items that we have to help you in your journey. First, one of the first things, if you want to have a conversation with me, you can click on that link there, and you can actually select the time, the length for how long you'd like to have a conversation. And you can select, whether or not we're just having a general conversation. Do you just want to vent to me? We can have that conversation. If you need spiritual encouragement, we can have that conversation. Whatever you need, I'm more than happy to actually get on the phone and speak with you. That was one of the things that I saw that I told you about before the break, where a lot of times people just wanted to just talk.
Just talk.
So I am here for that. Other items we have for sale on the page as well, Bible studies. And I have a few different Bible studies up there.
Awesome.
I have, everything from a one-page
I'm
worksheet.
not tearing up anymore.
Okay, good. About them streets. Yeah, so I got everything from a worksheet to a 7-day workbook, just various things, various studies that are Bible studies. I know that as my great comeback is my purpose, mm-hmm. I want to make sure that I'm using my purpose to keep pointing back at God. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be as mobile as I am. I wouldn't have my beautiful children if it wasn't for the Lord. So I am absolutely a faith-based company, and I'll say it to the end. So those are just a few of the products that we have for sale. I love speaking, love engaging, love, speaking to audiences. However I can be of service, just reach out to me, give me a phone call, shoot me an email. Let me know how I can be of service.
So when you speak to what type of organizations or audiences do you go and talk to?
And I hate to give this blanket entrepreneur answer, but anybody that needs really encouragement. Absolutely speak at hospitals, VAs, speak at churches. I love speaking at churches. Organizations who may have even just had a down quarter. Everything that I do, as well as pointing at the Lord, is all about coming back. One of my favorite quotes is the Japanese quote, "Fall down 6 times, stand up 7." So it's just all about picking yourself up off the mat and getting back out there.
Fall down 6 times and stand up 7.
Every time.
I've never heard that. I like that.
Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Write that thing down. Fall down 6 times and stand up 7.
Yeah.
So when you come to the organizations, mm-hmm. Is it more so that you're doing like just speeches, or do you have a kind of like a curriculum? Is mm-hmm. it like a classroom type setting? What should they expect?
So first, whoever reaches out to me, they can expect to have a conversation with me. I want to learn what it is that they, what it is that they need. If they do just want really a general kind of pep talk, then I can come in and I can do that. If they would like it to be more of the classroom type setting, then I do have a curriculum set up for that as well. So
Okay.
where literally maybe it was the instance where there was a down quarter, I'll walk with them through, some of what they did in the last quarter. We'll try to see if we can figure out maybe where the wheels fell off. And then the next step is we'll do a little bit of projection working and seeing, if things were to go perfectly, what would it take to get us there? And then we would create an action plan to get us into a more positive place, for this next quarter.
Okay. So you called it a pep talk?
Yeah, pep talk.
Okay.
Yeah, pep talk.
I think I've heard that term before.
Yes.
It involves 5 steps, I believe.
Yes.
So what's the 5 steps of the pep talk, Coach Ed?
So I laugh and break eye contact with you because I'm not using that 5 steps. I'm not using that anymore. What I've learned, because I did that when it was the other company name, I had that together. All of that was packaged up that way then.
Okay.
But since then, life has shown me that it's a little bit more complicated than that. And so that's why my focus first is to be quiet and listen. I want to speak to whoever reaches out to me and actually learn what it is they need and how I can best provide service.
Okay.
Based on whatever it is the company's goal is and what they want me to come in and speak about, then I'll come up with a plan and we'll get over that finish line.
Okay, well, I think that's still for you to get to that level and for you to change it up. You had to implement one of those other steps. With our team, we talk about, you play football, we talk about see, read, and adjust.
Yes, oh my goodness, yes.
See, read, and adjust.
Yes.
So, what's working today may not be working tomorrow. And then you do it. It is really good to listen to people. I was saying we got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason to do things.
Yes.
So, with your organization, I guess, what is ultimately the big accomplishment that you want to get with this? How wide do you? What is your vision? When you saw it, now you talked about that entrepreneur struggle.
Yes.
So now my mind flipped on us. Okay.
All right.
You talked about the entrepreneur struggle, and part of it, in order to be successful, I always say you got to see it before you see it. Can you delve into when first, because you already had the brother at the church that said, "Why are you hiding? Why are you running from your gift?" Can you share with them kind of more so how the vision came to you and how you started? Because you got to take action to move towards it.
Right.
And how long did you expect it to actually, what's the word? Manifest or come to fruition, yes. How long? Because some people think it's supposed to happen overnight.
Right.
So can you speak to that to the audience, please?
Yes. It's definitely not going to come overnight. And if it does, you wouldn't know how to treat it. You wouldn't know how to appreciate it. I don't even, just stop me and rewind me if I need to speak on something any deeper or if I don't answer any aspect of your question. So one of the things that I feel like I've learned and that I'm continuing to learn now, even with the rebrand of my company, is that the struggle is part of the process.
Say that thing again.
The struggle, shoot, that was deep, wasn't it?
That was real deep.
You know what? This is broader than entrepreneurship. This is life. The struggle is part of the process. Whatever you've had to work for, you appreciate. I remember telling my wife, once we had our little boy, mind you, he was born, so this got thrown out the window. But I remember telling my wife, I was like, the day he asked me for Jordans is the day I'm going to buy him a lawnmower. I'm going to have him research how much Jordans cost, how much Jordans cost him to buy. But even before that, I want him to research how much it costs Nike to make those Jordans.
Right. Because
I want him, he's going to learn to be an entrepreneur. I want him to learn what margin is. I want him to learn what work is. When you see it cost Nike $8 to make those shoes, It's going to cost you $250 to buy those shoes. And you have to cut all of those yards to earn that money. My money is betting that he's not going to blow it. You know, he's not going to blow that $250, $300 he earns on something that it only costs Nike $8 to make. The more you work for something, the more you fight for something, the more you toil to have something grow, the more you value it. And I feel like for entrepreneurs, I feel like for us in life, the girl that was so beautiful that at first I was scared to speak to, but eventually I got the guts to go and speak to her and got her phone number and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I value her that much more. The job that I stayed up all night.
You had to work to get her.
I had to work to get.
Don't even go there.
I'm preaching now.
That's
I'm preaching now. The job, I'm gonna just keep on going. The job, I had to prep the night or weeks, leading up to the interview, so I could look at their books, so I could look at their top clients, so I could look at all that. Everything we have to work for, we value that much more. And I feel like in life is unpredictable. Life is messy. Life is going to catch you off guard. But when you learn to pick yourself up after you got kicked in the behind,
mm-hmm.
it preps you that much more for the next behind kicking. You'll know, once you learn to pick yourself up, you'll learn that you always can pick yourself up.
And that's the key. You got to understand that just because you get through this one storm,
mm-hmm.
it don't mean that you're not going to get through the next storm. That's part of that eagle mentality. The eagles celebrate in the storms.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out the storm, they bored. Bring me another storm. And that's what you got to do. You got to have that eagle mentality.
I love that. And so you just taught me something there about the Eagles. I mean, I don't know if I go that hard to say, Lord, give me something else. I don't know if I'm doing that. That's what an eagle does.
They okay with being in it by themselves.
Right.
They don't need no one else to they usually soaring by themselves. They don't need nobody else to justify what they're doing or their approval or anything else. And that's why the eagle is like the top bird. And a lot of people talk about you got to soar like an eagle.
That's heavy.
It's a beautiful thing.
That is heavy right there. I love that. I'm probably gonna speak about it in my man journal.
That's 2 bills.
That's 2 bills. Goodness gracious, man. What I would say, my perspective is just always get up. No matter how hard life hits you, get up. Keep going. Get back out there. And after you learn to pick yourself up once, you will always know that you can do it. You'll always know that as long as you're breathing, you can handle it.
I don't know if it was something that I maybe in you talking about talk to people about learning how to take their setbacks and make their comebacks.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been about it helps you prepare to know for the next one that you came through. You wouldn't be able to be alive if you didn't go through the different struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of the struggle, God got to reset us sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we begin, we be like, oh, he brought me through this. And we begin to celebrate him even when nothing's going on. So he got to wake us up and put us into that next cycle of struggle to get through.
You just gave me like 15 things to that I wanted to remember to say to you. I'm going to try to quickly get them out now. I mean, think about babies when they're learning how to walk. They might try to take a step, but then they fall. But they don't quit, though.
They got that childlike faith.
Yes. God started us early, literally learning how to pick ourselves up and keep going. Now, mind you, next thing you know, they're running all over the place and you got to chase them, but they don't quit. They keep on pulling up on the couch, pulling up on the table, pulling up on your leg. They keep on getting back up and trying it again. We have to have that same mentality. And I mean, Jesus speaks to, having the faith of a child. We just have to just stand up and just start walking and trust that God, Lord, my prayer, God, I just want you to see me start moving. And I pray that I'm moving in the direction you want me to. When it comes to entrepreneurship, I think you asked me about this like 28 days ago. I'm giving these long answers. But
it's okay.
My prayer with starting the business again literally was, God, I have no idea, how this is going to morph, how this is going to grow, what you're going to want me to focus on. But okay, I heard you. Let me get started. And as I started typing, as I started, laying everything out, next thing I knew, my website was up. Next thing I knew, my Facebook group was created. Next thing I knew, my link. I mean, just everything. God manifests. He just tells us to start moving, and
Right.
he'll draw the map while we're walking.
Exactly. You got to take the action.
Absolutely.
You don't take the action, you're not going nowhere. So you said you had 15 things. I think I heard one. Give me the other 14.
Shoot.
The baby, the childlike faith, and what's our next? Where we going to next?
Just ask me another question. It'll pop back up in a second. That's one of the things about this MS. Memory, it definitely affects your memory.
Well, you know what? I think there's someone, we had some people saying they're appreciating the discussion,
Okay.
And things of that nature. But I think that some people might have some questions about, the fact that you were able to get into the research program with the stem cells before. How difficult was that? And do you think that that's something that, are you a candidate to do that again? I mean, if it cured you for 10 years before,
Yes.
now that you're doing it, are you able to go back and do that process again?
That is literally one of the videos that my web guy is currently working on to get posted, because I had several people actually ask me, am I going to get the stem cell transplant again? I speak to that on my video journal. So I'm going to have your view. I'm not going to give you an answer now. I'm going to have your viewers subscribe to my Warrior community, and they will find on there, when they watch that journal entry, they'll see whether or not I'm going to get.
Comment on here, leaving a cliffhanger on your girl Tasha.
I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I'm sorry.
Can y'all believe that? OMG.
It will be available. Let's see, what time is it here? It'll be available, I'll say by 9 p.m. tonight. It'll be on the website, in the Warrior community. So go to mygreatcomeback.com, join the Warrior community, and you will find there the answer to that question.
Now, some people, when they go and visit the Warrior community, as you mentioned already, it is a subscription.
Yes,
so can you share with everybody, what does the subscription fee go towards?
The fee goes towards the business. It's thankfully, I'm using that money to go towards helping me to buy more ads and continue to herald out the message of My Great Comeback. I'm working very diligently and hard to spread the word to as many people as possible. One of the numbers that I can tell you is that the number of suicides is already through the roof currently, especially with our young people. But the number of people with MS who commit suicide is double the national average of overall suicides, period.
And why do you think that?
It's because of the depression. It's because of the burden that, and again, this isn't only specifically to MS, but we feel like we are the largest burden to our circle, to our family, to our wives, to our spouses, to our loved ones, and then the financial burden as well. It's just, it's the disease is a burden, and it weighs heavy on us. And we're not able, as we spoke to a few minutes ago.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
Anything that I think about anybody with the thoughts of depression and committing suicide, either way, and something you don't know about me, I share with people. I actually, as a teenager, I was a cutter, and I learned. I grew out of it as I got older. But one of the things, though, about depression and committing suicide, you say it weighs on you, or you feel that you're being a burden on a family members. I don't know, but I think it's more of a burden if I find out that someone decides to take that route. I mean, I'd rather be here supporting and having you and crying on the shoulder and giving you that face that you were talking about earlier, the face of the mother that, like, I wish I could just help you, versus having to deal with planning your funeral early. If the disease, you're going through disease, let's battle this. Let's give it a real fight. You always see people, and the whole phrase about cancer is, some people spell it PHUCK, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Cancer. Right. Okay, let's give it a battle. Let's not just lay down and take it and let it win. Help it win.
Right.
So, I personally, I can't even, I'm not in that shoe to feel that depression or whatever. But what do you say to a person? Because really, even if you're going through it, that's not the answer. So, what kind of help do you suggest to the person that's feeling like this is going to be better? It's going to be better for me to just take my life and not finish battling this disease, not knowing, going through the struggle, the process that God has intended for you.
First, what I say to you as you paint that picture is what I know about you is you probably one of the strongest women I've ever spoke to. So you have strength that you need to bottle up and sell. So
Thank you.
I'm gonna park that one there. What I would say to anybody else who's feeling the way that you described is because they might not be as strong as you. They might not have either the backbone that you have. They might not have, and I don't know this, but the support system that you have. They might not have anybody to speak to. So as we already established, you're just a G. For the people who are not named Tasha, what I would seriously tell them is that you're not alone, and you do add value to this world. I know you're in a dark place right now. I have been in that dark place. I've been blessed to have such a wonderful support system, and that's why I created this business. And as much as I can, I would love to speak with you. I would love to encourage you. You're a blessing. And even though life is weighing on you so greatly, know that you're strong enough to handle it. And you can get through this. And look to the Lord because he will make you even stronger. When I was dealing with the MS, another quote that I came across that I played constantly in my on my mental tape player back then, and then I had to blow the dust off of it once I got re-diagnosed with the MS, which is what do you do when the weight of the world is on your shoulders? You plant your feet and handle it. You got to keep going. So it's hard when you feel like you're doing it alone, but reach out to me. Let's talk. Let's. I'll do whatever I can to help everybody, who's fighting this disease, know that you're not alone and you can get through it. As even as hard as it feels now, I call it the warrior community because anybody dealing with any disease, this is anybody dealing with life. Life is hard. We have to choose to be warriors and keep fighting through. We have to choose to keep getting back up. You can stay on the mat, or you can choose to stand up and face the day and say, all right, you caught me that time, but let's go another.
I had a girlfriend that just logged on, actually. I'm a union vice president for CWA with Verizon, but one of my members who actually left because there is life after the Verizon. She actually just logged in. Unfortunately, she can't call in right now, but I had wanted her to call in because she's one of those strongest people that I know that also is battling with the same disease and stuff. So Tony, I know you just got on, but if you missed it, please make sure that you go and visit mygreatcomeback.com. And I think that actually you and your story and your testimony, you would be a contribution to the warrior community too, and maybe go out there and be a part of the community.
Yes, join Tony. Tony, if you stronger than this lady I'm sitting beside, I absolutely need you to join the warrior community. Chime in on the discussion board. Help toughen up the other people on there as well. Help share your strength with us, please.
Absolutely. So we got about 5 or 6 minutes because that clock is a little bit fast sometimes. So if there's anything, I just want to turn the floor over to you. Anything that you want to share. There's no rules or anything here. I know your faith and your foundation come from being a member at the wonderful Prince George's Church of Christ on Central Avenue at Capitol Heights.
That's right.
So anything that you want to share with the audience, because I know sometimes the broadcast will be over, we'll be like, oh my God, I forgot to say this. So anything.
Jeez. I feel like I've said majority of the things I was rehearsing in my head to make sure that I needed to convey on the
She
in the
said
interview.
she'll join.
Okay, good. Thank you. I cannot wait to have you weigh in. The biggest thing that I would say is a conversation that I've had with my dad more than a few times, which is that I don't know. Well, my dad's a minister, and so a conversation that I've had with him more than once, which is that we both feel, but I definitely was telling him that I personally feel that a person truly develops their faith when they need it. And I feel that God absolutely gets your attention during those times of struggle. And again, from my personal humble experience, when it's your health or one of your loved ones' health, that's when you really turn to God. And I leave that up to God to figure out, that being his means of getting your attention. My perspective, though, and my key takeaway here is for the people who are dealing with their own battles right now, turn closer to God. Turn to the scriptures. Go to my site. Buy one of the Bible studies that I have on this site. Learn him more perfectly. Having God have my back has made all the difference. Dealing with the MS from 2002 until 2013, for 12 years, however long that is, I'm not great at math, but from 2002 to 13, I was being told that I'd never be able to have children. And especially before the transplant with the chemotherapy.
And you got some pretty babies.
But here's the thing. When we went on Steve Harvey, she told me that she was pregnant. By the time we got back home, the doctor called and said that she had lost that baby. We had lost that baby. And brokenhearted and devastated for all of 2013.
Hanging with your girl Tasha. Who do we have calling in?
Hello, Miss Tasha. My name is Marcus McClure.
Hey, Marcus. How are you?
Marcus, what's up?
I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Alrighty. You have a message from Mr. Coach Ed?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to let Ed know that I'm super proud of him. I'm super proud to call you my brother. I am super proud that you are living out God's purpose for your life. And I wish and pray nothing but the best for you. I wish and pray that your experiences are able to help people start to heal, help people to be able to share their feelings with others and help others to heal. And just all bringing that all focused all back to God and showing how much God has stood beside you and showing them that God is always standing beside them. But we love you, bro.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Marcus. We have another
Thanks,
call. We have another call, and we have a question in the chat, too, but I appreciate you calling in.
Love you, man.
Thank
no problem.
you.
And, greetings from San Diego.
West.
All right. Hanging with your girl, Tasha. Who do we have, and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Bianca McClure.
Hey, Bianca.
Hey.
Hi. And I'm here with the babies.
Hey.
Hey. What do you want to say to Coach Ed?
This is his wife calling. You hear the babies calling. They're talking in the back.
Those
And
beautiful
we just want to say
babies.
that we're so proud of Edwin. He is such a wonderful coach at home and just in general. I admire him and his strength and everything that he's fighting for at this moment with his disease coming back and just fighting in general. He's so strong. So, of course, I'm here to support him and encourage he will give you just great service. Whatever your needs are, he is the right person to go to in terms of the advice that he can give you, the strength that he can give you, praying for you, the Bible studies. I mean, you would just be so encouraged. Of course, he encourages us, and we're just so proud of him.
We appreciate you, Bianca, for calling in. And we got one more question from the chat, and we're about to wrap it up. But please be sure to share this replay with people too, because they definitely have to know what Coach Ed is doing for everybody in the community and how he's inspiring people just like you and I. Thank you so much. We have this one question right here. It says, what's the one piece of advice, coming from Jeff Fortune, Coach Ed, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to someone in your community that likes focus and direction?
That's a really good one. Turn everything off. That would be the first thing that I would say. Spend at least 5 minutes a day. At least 5 minutes a day. It'd be better, if you can get up to 15 minutes a day. But we live in a very, very increasingly wired world nowadays. If it's the first 15 minutes when you wake up in the morning, maybe the last 15 before you go to bed, but just unplug, turn your phone, leave your phone in a different room, but just take those 15 minutes and just be quiet.
So there you have it. If you are struggling and battling with a disease like MS, like Coach Ed, or any of those other diseases, and you like focus, just turn everything off. You just got to unplug. So, guys, we have to wrap it up. We're coming to the end of another Your Girl, Tasha. Thank you. See you next Monday, 5:30, when we have Cherish Your Queen in the studio with me next week. Bye-bye.
Sexy lady who walks around without being shady, who knows her values, who's gone through trials. Her smiles are captured from mouth to mouth. It's not the size of her thighs she worries about, but the pride she thrives to keep that drive. That cinnamon twist. That cinnamon twist.